What is your name?
Celeste Taylor.
And who are you with?
I'm with the NAACP of Pennsylvania. I'm also with B-Pep and a number of other groups.
So what are we doing here today?
We had an informal strategy meeting where we went over materials and answered questions. But the most fun part was hitting the streets and making sure that the Hill District got a lot of good information about voter ID, and some of the places we went to even agreed to register people to vote. That's why we're here today. It wasn't just all talk. We had to hit the streets.
What is some of the information that you have about voter ID?
Well, the very basic information about voting is to make sure that you're registered to vote. You got to get in the game to even have the voter ID be relevant. So we make sure we connect voter registration and voter ID together. We have great materials from the Voter ID Coalition. We have buttons that say photo ID, ask me. We have black and yellow flyers that say if you need a photo ID on one side and on the other one is the law has changed. Be prepared to vote in November. You need to bring one of these photo IDs to the polls on November 6th.
And what are those?
You must bring this on November 6th unless the court decision turns out differently, but we got some bad news today. There's no injunction. So that's why it was important for us to do what we did today.
So can you tell me some of the things that you have to bring to the pool?
A PA driver's license, currently valid or expired less than 12 months. An ID issued by PennDOT, currently valid or expired less than 12 months. A currently valid U.S. passport. Expired passports will not be accepted. An active duty or retired U.S. military ID, including the Pennsylvania National Guard. An indefinite expiration date will be accepted. A currently valid military dependence ID, expired IDs will not be accepted. A currently valid employee ID issued by federal Pennsylvania County, or Pennsylvania municipal government, expired IDs will not be accepted. A currently valid ID issued by a Pennsylvania university, college, seminary, community college, or two-year college. To students, faculty, employees, and alumni, expired IDs will not be accepted. A currently valid ID issued by a Pennsylvania care facility, such as a long-term care nursing facility, assisted living residence, or a personal care home, expired IDs will not be accepted.
So what can people do if they don't have any of those IDs?
If you need a photo ID, free photo IDs are available at PennDOT driver's license centers if you sign an affidavit that you need the ID in order to vote.
So you can go to any PennDOT in the state of Pennsylvania?
Most of the time you want to go to one that's closer to where you live at. So if you live in Pittsburgh and in the Hill District, you would go downtown on the bus or drive downtown or get one of your friends. Or if you don't have anyone to give you a ride, you can call the Pennsylvania Voter ID Coalition and they'll refer you to a group that is offering rides.
Do you have a number for them?
Yes, I do. That number is 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-687-8683.
Cool. So how important is this for people to vote and to get their IDs to vote?
I think voting is one of the most important rights that you have, and that in order to be relevant in this society, a democracy, the tool that you can use for power is the vote, whether it's at the local, state, or national level. And when there are impediments to voting, that breaks down our very democracy. That is why we're fighting so hard to make sure, if we don't overturn the law, that the 99,000 people in Allegheny County and the almost 800,000 people in Pennsylvania that don't have acceptable ID get them.
So what can people do to make sure that they can vote?
I think first you got to be in the game. You got to make sure that you register, and if you changed your address, if you changed your name, if you moved.
So where's some of the places people can easily go to change the register to vote if they change their address or anything like that?
You can actually go online at pavotes.com. You can go to the library. Sometimes they carry them at a number of community centers. And with the work of the NAACP, B-Pep, and others, we've made sure that there are voter registration forms at a lot of local community businesses as well. But the library certainly is a really good place to pick them up, and also down at the Board of Elections downtown Pittsburgh.
Cool. So how easy is this process for somebody to go through, from registering to getting ID to being able to go to the poll?
It depends on your circumstance, and I was thinking of a young man that we registered at African Arts in the Park, and we had to keep listening to his story because he's 18 and he's moving to New Jersey, and he's going to be voting in New Jersey, not at home, and he has no ID. So how easy is it going to be for him to make sure that he can vote in New Jersey at the school he's going at or close to it? We really had to work with him, and we kept his number so that we can follow him through the process. Because the folks in Philadelphia, they deal a lot with New Jersey people, and we're going to make sure that he gets through and get his ID that he can use for voting and have his right to vote protected. And a lot of the plaintiffs in the ACLU lawsuit are elderly because they had situations where they lost their birth certificate or they never had one. And the things that you need to do in order to get a new birth certificate can take a long time. So it depends, and you have to start the process, a couple weeks in advance. So we don't want people to wake up on November 6th and go, oh yeah, I need to get the right photo ID. If you just start then, it's probably not going to work, and you don't want to do a provisional ballot. They don't count a lot of times, and if you don't have it on November 6th, the likelihood of you getting it in 6 days isn't all that good. So that's why we're getting people prepared now.
So you say it's taking a long time, but how roughly, depending on the situation, do you think that it would take somebody to go through the process to be able to walk into the poll and vote?
Well, if you need an ID, free photo ID, you got to bring your Social Security card and an official birth certificate with a raised seal and a certificate of U.S. citizenship, certificate or naturalization, or a valid U.S. passport, and 2 proofs of residency: a lease agreement, mortgage documents, W-2 form, tax records, utility bill. Cell phone bills cannot be used. And then you have to sign an affidavit that you don't have any other photo ID, and you have to get to the DMV and make sure you bring all these papers, and then you follow everything through the process to make sure that you get your photo ID in enough time. And we're talking about November 6th, and registering to vote, the deadline is October 9th.
With you being in southwestern PA and connected to the NAACP throughout the state and throughout the nation, is it the same across the country, or is it different depending on what state that you're in?
It's different depending upon what state you live in, and Pennsylvania has one of the most restrictive voter ID laws. It was a law that they were trying to get passed in 2006, and we beat it back. And when I say we, advocates of just people in terms of protecting the rights of voters. And the most vulnerable populations are people of color, women, elderly, and young.
So if someone, say, like from Arizona, didn't have an ID and wanted to go vote, where would they go? What would they do?
They can go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they can call. There's a telephone number that they can call. So voters with driver's license expired for over a year, and this can mean those that are from another state. They can call 1-800-932-4600. The advantage of having an expired license in Pennsylvania is that you can generally just get a new driver's license that has a more current expiration date, and you'll be okay. And they're doing that automatically without you paying the $13.50.
In the last presidential election, there was a lot of gas and enthusiasm and excitement in the last presidential election. But do you see the same enthusiasm and excitement in this election, or it's not the same, or it's less? Or what do you see?
It is not the same, but what I do see happening is people wanting to understand their relationship to how they can better their own lives. So it's a combination of personal responsibility, but also feeling more connected to the whole. I do sense a need that people have to really think that they're relevant in a country that seems to have so much wealth and the rules not being played right, things not being fair. But as much as I hear about how people sometimes view grassroots as people whining and not wanting to participate, when I was out there today, I saw a lot of people that cared, and some people will act like they know everything, but for the most part, people want to know more, and they want to figure out how to be a part of this society and do the right thing, vote, and have that vote count. And it's our job to protect their right to vote. And I think that not depending on political candidates so much, that you vote for who you think is going to do the best job for, on the issues that are important to you. But there are some things we got to do for self, and certainly registering to vote so that you can be in the game. I see that becoming more important once again.
With a lot of people that is registering people to vote, it's usually what I've seen a lot of times is one-sided. People want you to register to vote, so you vote for Obama, or people want you to register to vote, so you vote for Mitt Romney. How is it that you go about doing this here in Pittsburgh?
Well, the NAACP and B-Pep are nonpartisan. So are many nonprofits. So are many organizations that are based in the community that have a relationship with people. It's more important that you relate to them. That you may be doing their hair, and that's the most important thing. Or you may be helping them find housing. They may be going to a food bank. They may be at child care. Whatever people, wherever they're at, that's how we got to reach them. And it doesn't always need to be through the candidates. I think when it's done through nonprofits and people in the community, that it has a different feel to it, that you're more concerned about the people and not the candidate.
So what was the slogan that you said at the beginning of the interview? You said something about you have to get into the game. Can you relay a little bit more on that?
I think the worst thing to be is irrelevant. So, yes, you got to be in the game. You got to play to win. And what do you win when you vote? It's part of your voice. And I think once we demonstrate the power of the vote, we haven't done enough yet. Until we do enough, I don't want to hear folks say it doesn't matter. And like my brother in the civil rights movement, Tim Stevens says, you know, if you want power, take it. And voting is a part of that power, so cool. Take it.
We touched a little bit on the number of people in Allegheny County that are registered to vote but don't have valid ID numbers. What was that number again?
99,000.
Okay, and that's just in Allegheny County?
Yes.
And do you know the statewide number?
Close to 800,000. It may be a little higher.
In Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay. With the percentage of voters in the country that are able to vote that are not registered and do not vote, what do you think it would take for them to come out to vote?
For those that are already registered, certainly not having more suppression laws that make it harder for people to vote. So I'd say, you know, making sure that there's fewer laws that suppress the vote. The Help America Vote Act was supposed to be a way to help, not hurt. Certainly the National Voting Registration Act, where agencies are to provide voter registration opportunities to clients. If that was done the right way, there would probably be at least 1 million more people voting in Pennsylvania. So policy is one thing. Certainly, if people are more in the habit of voting, then I think it just becomes second nature. So I think it's important that families pass on to one another the personal responsibility part of voting, civic education in high school and colleges and universities, making it easier for people to vote on off-peak hours, maybe a different day of the week. And I definitely believe in voting over a longer period of time, not just one day. And same-day voter registration. Some countries you're able to vote as soon as you meet the requirements of being 18 and being a citizen and living in a particular jurisdiction. So,
working with the NAACP, do you see a lot of black youth coming out to vote in the last election or in this election? And what would you tell America's young black youth to have them come out to vote?
I think the message has got to remain pretty consistent, and that it is connected to their voice, and that when you look at the state of colleges and universities, the policies connected to how much tuition they pay, how they're able to get loans, work-study programs, like it's all related, and they're not going to be in college forever. They'll be adults, and the kind of policies around economic development, and so it all relates to their life. And certainly having more young people speak to other young people and have the message deliver in a different way, that helps. So, younger people like yourself, and there are groups like the Urban League Young Professionals are going to be out there, but also the Community Intervention Supervision Program. Those young people, they help out as well.
So if anyone wanted to find out more information about voting or the NAACP, how do they get in contact with anybody, or where can they find information about you?
You can find information about the campaign This Is My Vote at www.thisismyvote.org, and you can call the local NAACP Pittsburgh branch and leave a message for Celeste Taylor, the Local Civic Engagement Coordinator, 412-471-1024. And our address is 2203 Wylie Avenue in the Historic Hill District. And I hang out at Freedom Unlimited with Mrs. Fox. That is terrific because she is our mother of civil rights in Pittsburgh. So between her and Tim Stevens, those are some.
And you were talking about Elma Speed Fox.
Elma Speed Fox, Mrs. Fox. Yeah, I'm blessed, and I'm trying to make sure I give something back. And every day I try to bring more and more young people into this movement. Keep the older folks energized.